thank you all for attending today. Really at the core of this piece of legislation is it's two things. It's one, a transparency bill, and it's also a mental health bill as well. The transparency part of it, if you read the bill, and my bill is House Bill 1642, is it asks a question of the number of people that are in solitary confinement, some information of demographics, their age, their sex, their gender identity, their race, whether they have a developmental disability or a mental illness, what type of disability they may have. People that are in solitary confinement for their own protection. There are a number of people that are there because they have to be there for their own protection, who those people are, why they are there, and for how long they are there. And so basic information about transparency, having that information would be extremely helpful. The Washington Post did a editorial last month, and they cited a comprehensive report that was released a couple months before that, a report by the Association of State Correctional Administrators and Yale Law School's Lyman Center, collected data from 43 prison systems. But it wasn't as comprehensive. Virginia didn't have information because they're not required by law to collect that information. What this bill would do is it would require Virginia to collect this information, and it would bring more transparency to the process. I also mentioned this is a mental health bill as well too. It would tell us what the health status is of those that are contained in solitary confinement, those that are sick, if they're sick, have there been suicide attempts by them. It'll also give us some information that is badly needed about mental health needs and about the mental health staffing issues that are going on in the Department of Corrections. I can tell you personally, as a member of the Deeds Commission, the Joint Commission to study mental health in the 21st century, we have taken a comprehensive look at our mental health system, and we've looked to identify all the different funding gaps that are available in the community, and we've made a tremendous amount of progress in doing that. The last couple of years that you've seen with some of the issues that we've seen in some of our jails and our regional jails, we've worked very collaboratively with the jails to help us identify where those funding gaps are and where the resources. And as policymakers, we need to decide, can we provide those resources and put them in place to close those gaps? This past year, in a bill a corollary that I introduced last year, would be much more comprehensive than what this bill does. But what happened to that bill in the 2018 session was we asked the Deeds Commission to study the state of solitary confinement. And this is the first year that in 2018 where we started to have those conversations with the Department of Corrections. And the best that I can tell is that we have no issues in mental health and in our Department of Corrections and our prisons. And I just believe we need more information than that, because we are finding in those gaps in the community, we're finding the gaps in the jails, and I find it really hard to believe that we don't have similar gaps in our prisons. And we need to make sure as policymakers, we have all the information that we possibly can have in order to deal with this issue in solitary confinement and make sure that those are in there are not suffering needlessly, because it's extremely important that we provide those resources. So, but this bill is not a bill to end solitary confinement. I want to make that very clear as well. But this bill is primarily a bill to provide transparency and to provide the information we need so that we can decide if there's more resources that are necessary for people with mental illness. So with that, I can turn it over to Senator Morrison.
Thank you, Pat.